I'm going to show you how to disassemble the Tisas 1911. It's the same procedure that you would use for any 1911. Since I had my hands full in the previous video, I just wanted to show you my grip that I was talking about first. This is the grip that I use on the handgun. I use a high grip so that this thumb safety makes a lot of sense for my comfort. So that's just all I wanted to show you. In terms of disassembly, the first thing that you're going to want to do, as always, is to clear it. And I can see that it's clear. I just wanted to show you here. But make sure that your firearm is unloaded. And, of course, you want it to be unlocked for this, so the safety should be off. For this first procedure. So we are going to, sorry, forget people don't like it when, there's no one standing in front of me, but people don't like it when I point the muzzle at them, understandably so. So I'll try and avoid that. So I start out by pointing the firearm in a safe direction, and we press in on this barrel button here, sorry, the takedown button there, and then we'll rotate the barrel bushing over to the side like that. And if you have a tool, they make tools that make this a lot easier, but really you just hold it in with your finger, making sure it doesn't ping across the room, rotate it out of the way, and then it releases. Now you can take this barrel bushing and rotate it the opposite direction, and it'll just pull right out. So now our barrel's just kind of floating around in there by the link. I leave the spring in for this step, and then we are going to slide the slide back until the slide catch matches up with this tiny little notch in the slide. And I'm just going to show you here where that should be. Oops. Sorry. Let me get out of the way, get out of my own way here. But so this is the notch for the slide catch. Then behind that is the little takedown notch. You can see it as I move it there. You want that to be lined up right there. And then you can push from the back side, and this whole catch, the whole slide catch will come right out. And it shouldn't take a lot of force if you have it lined up with that little notch correctly. You do want to make sure that that is perfectly aligned before you go, and then it'll just slide right out. Take our spare parts and put them aside. Oops, my spring just came out, but that's okay. Now, with everything loosened up, this slide should just slide right off of the front. And then you can remove your guide rod. And then with the link down, the whole barrel will slide forward out of the slide. So that's the first bit of takedown. The second bit of takedown gets a little bit messier, and maybe we'll go into that more in depth later. But to take out your safety, you kind of go in this half safety position, and the whole thing just pulls out, just like that. With the safety out, you can actually just push out the hammer pin that holds the hammer in, the sear pin down here that holds the sear in, and without that pin that I just removed in the safety, the thumb safety, the grip safety actually is free floating. So if I was to take out the mainspring, which I would do by releasing the pressure on the hammer and pushing out this pin, I could just pull this right out. So from there, your sear comes out when you remove that pin. Hammer and hammer strut obviously come out when you remove this pin. And then you can remove, once you have all that out, you can remove your magazine catch by partially pressing in on the catch, about 1/8 of an inch protrusion like that, and then you just turn that flat head, partial turn, like 1/4 of a turn, and it'll pop right out, and then you'll be able to pull the trigger out. And that's pretty much a full disassembly. I'll do a video in depth demonstrating all that, but for now, let's go and reverse our field strip here. So we are going to this down here and grab our slide. So it's just reverse order. So in goes our barrel, and I make sure it's in lockup like that. And then, you know, it's a good time to check your lockup, make sure everything's, you know, looking clean, tidy, lubricated, etc. In goes the guide rod, curved side down, up against the barrel, and it looks like this. And then we will take, on a recoil spring, you have a flat side and an open side, like that. And the flat side is what goes up against the guide rod. So that goes in first. So here's what we have so far. You want this link to be forward. I usually go ahead and throw my barrel bushing on now. Push that in, and then I just flip it to the other side so that we can still get our recoil spring plug in there. Pardon me. And now we are ready to, once I put my safety back on, forgot I removed the thumb safety. And then to get the thumb safety back on, you just need something like a little pick or something to get this little plunger guy here to get in there. But if you filed your thumb safety nice, you can do it without tools like I just did. That's something to keep in mind, that yours may not be able to get back on without tools. Anyway, we are going to continue here. So then it goes on just the opposite of the way it came off. So we're going to line that up. Get you in frame. Line that up. And now I'll be looking through this little hole here. There you go. You can see daylight through there. And then you look through there as you slide it on until you see that cutout from the piece that surrounds that barrel link. And I can see it's perfectly lined up. I'm going to flip it upright so that that barrel link falls down into place. It's held by gravity, and I can see it's perfectly lined up, or more or less lined up. Let's get it perfectly lined up. There we go. Once that barrel link is lined up, now I'm going to flip it around just so that you can see this. Sorry, I'm not used to having to keep it in frame and show you. But the magazine catch now should slide in if everything's in place. And you want to hold it out away from the frame and your slide so that you don't end up with a scratch. You have dummy marks there that people get. I have a light one that you can barely see. It's barely even in the finish, but that even bothers me. So then for this, you want to do the reverse of what we did when we assembled it. So once it's held in place there, you just slide it back until that little tiny notch is back in that position from where we first disassembled it. There's the tiny little notch there. And then we'll swing this up, careful not to scratch your frame. And then it should just pop right back into position like that. Mine's being held up a little bit. You may have to wiggle the slide a little bit. So there you go. From here, I push it forward, engage the thumb safety, and in goes our recoil spring plug. And we want to function check it. So then do that again. Safety still works. Grip safety still works. Still fires. Okay, so that is how you quickly field strip. I'll do a full-on video on disassembly.